Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. Back with me again this week. It's sort of it's a letdown, not because it's you, but that Tate's out and he's going to be back. We've been thinking about him. But as you know, he had a passing in the family line there. Jerry Jarrett, for those of you out there that don't know.
Living legend.
Father-in-law, Jerry Jarrett. This guy, if you want to talk about sports and entertainment and wrestling, he's one of the pioneers, or was one of the pioneers for sure. And Tate, looking forward to seeing you. I've been thinking about you. But I think it's really kind of a celebration of life kind of thing, isn't it?
Well, I appreciate that glowing introduction. Whatever fan base turned the TV on today looking for Tate and saw me again, you've lost that fan base. But I appreciate that introduction with whoever's left in the bottom of the bucket. You've got Qualls here.
Six-man award.
But the truth of the matter is this. Jerry Jarrett is an absolute legend. You think about Memphis, you think about wrestling in the South, the Southeast. This guy is the guy that started all of it. All those proving grounds for all those guys that came through. Matter of fact, it reminds me of a story that he once told me. I asked him the question. I said, who is the one that you missed on? So he goes through all this this conversation and telling the story about this particular guy, and he ends up with Stone Cold Steve Austin. He told him to pack his bags and go back to Texas because he was a terrible, terrible actor at the time. And think about that. You're sitting there like, there's no way, because that guy with The Rock in that time in their prime was what, drawing everybody to watch WWE at that time.
And some classic theme music from Stone Cold.
Absolutely. And it's just so interesting of everybody that he touched, from Hulk Hogan to the Ultimate Warrior to all of those guys, all the way down, they came through Jerry Jarrett's program at some point in time.
Well, and, thinking about the Jarrett family with Jeff.
Yes.
And folks out there won't know this, but Dr. Qualls had it in his mind that, Jeff was going to be a part of game day, and
it's going to happen.
We're going to break the guitar over his back. So if it ever happens, that's not what happened. You're going to get it.
That's fine. I'll take one for the team too, but I'll pull out another one and I'll get him too. That's going to happen. We're going to make that happen sometime. It'll probably be when we take this thing on the road, this circus on the road someday, and it's at Gallatin or Hendersonville where we make ears bleed out there. But I'm just telling you, it's going to happen because he's a Hendersonville graduate.
Now listen, you'll get that crowd back on your side now. If you're out at Gallatin at the fairgrounds or one of those places, they'll be all about you after that if that happens.
Well, hats off and kudos to the Jarrett family, and once that the WWE had to go to Congress, he was brought in to run the entire company for Vince McMahon at one point in time, which is such an interesting conversation. You're talking about this guy was the guy. When you went into the gas station, you saw the leaflets of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Daryl Jones,
energy manager.
Yeah, they came through. They came through his organization and his training grounds.
Hey, listen, I want to, because you're appreciated. Again, you're 6-man award winner. We have 3 pretty regular viewers. We've got, number one, Miss Hester.
Yes.
Now, she's probably not watching as much right now.
Love her.
So her role is, don't say anything bad about Ravenwood.
Yeah.
Always pick us. Keep my son in your good graces. That's kind of her role.
Her baby boy.
Then we've got Paul Brees. Paul Brees likes to check out and see if we make any mistakes, which we rarely do. But he likes to say, hey, no, you got the scoring wrong with wrestling and bowling, and he's usually wrong. But Paul Brees, and then we have, and you've got the compliment of the compliments, we had my father, Charles Joins, regular viewer. He said, Dr. Qualls, it was fun. I missed Tate, but Dr. Qualls did a great job.
Well, Paul Brees, I'm sorry. We went with the lefty instead of the righty this week. I got the call and you didn't. But you go back to this. I greatly appreciate him watching this show probably numerous times throughout the week to get your viewership up and the clicks and the likes. But I greatly appreciate Ralph Lauren out there watching. He's a great fella. Him and your mom both huge fans of WCS and have always been. And personally been fans of mine, and I greatly appreciate their support. And they may be the only ones watching this and saying, "I'm glad that Qualls was there."
Now she may be watching too, but I can guarantee you that. And by the way, this is he always says he's the original Shaq. Like, he's not a huge sports fan, but when he saw like Shaquille O'Neal Shaq, he's like, who is that? I was like, Shaquille with a Q. And he had the nickname Shaq because when he was a kid working at Hulse's grocery store, he could not pronounce sack. He called it a shack.
Central City, Kentucky.
So he's Shaq Joins.
Okay.
So he always says the original Shaq. And if you stuck them beside each other, could they be?
Look like twins. Look like
they
the
be?
twins. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito twins is what I can imagine. So, if we've got any viewers left on this show,
I'm sure they enjoy the family tree conversation.
I'm sure they appreciate it very much.
Well, let's talk a little WCS sports. Let's start with wrestling.
Yes.
Okay, which is kind of appropriate that we're starting with that. So we talked about the regional championships last week. This week we get sectional championships from the same teams. Fairview, Summit, Page, just like they won their first region title, they won their first sectional title. And here's something else I want to mention. Female qualifiers. And you know this. Coach Grindstaff and Independence, they always carry the flag, female wrestling. We had 6 from Indy qualify, 1 from Nolensville, 1 from Franklin, and 5 from Summit.
Well, Coach Grindstaff was ahead of the curve on this. I mean, we might have, Coach Miller might get mad at me for saying this, but I really think that Indy really carried that torch early and really wanted that, not necessarily separation, but wanted that representation of the female wrestling side of things and really had a good program at that. And even when you go down to the minor leagues of the AAU wrestling and the bantamweights of the McRae Qualls, you actually see there's a couple of young ladies that are in those programs. So it's not something that's foreign anymore. It's not something that seems awkward for those females to be in the wrestling world. Well,
and if you look at, so like we've done, and I know they call it something different, but the Ag Center, that's where it's going to be held. Thursday, if you look at your schedule there, Dr. Qualls, we got weigh-ins, rounds of 16. And then on Friday, we've got consolations, we've got semifinals, and then the championship on Saturday. OTL, outside the lines, they'll be there, part of that again. And I'll tell you what's cool, and I think you and I have talked about this. When they line up for that championship and they put those names up on the screen with those images, it's pretty darn cool.
It looks a lot like wrestling.
It does.
Because they give them the opportunity, that individual merit of coming out, smoke and mirrors, cryo cannon. See, I'm getting pumped talking about it. I love it, though. I love the fact that OTL, our group, is going to be there working alongside TWCA. You're talking about a work-based learning placement. What better to learn those real-world skills than right there alongside?
Wait a second.
Yes.
We're doing real world and not just the 3 R's? That's
world.
the R.
That is correct. What are the other 2 R's?
Well, it's arithmetic, which is wrong.
And writing.
Reading, writing, arithmetic.
Well, the truth of the matter is these kids are wanting to go into potentially into athletic world of employment, whether through a marketing lens, whether through a logistical lens, or whatever the case may be. And what better way to go to the state tournament alongside the TWCA staff and produce those graphics, produce scripts, produce still photos, work the schedules, which are a grind, throughout the whole day. It's really a good opportunity for those kids.
It is, and I appreciate TSSAA's involvement in that. They've got some big shoes to fill now. Last year, the group,
some really big shoes. You think about,
they came up with a video.
You think about where those kids went too. We had a kid go to UCLA School of Film at Berkeley. USC. And then you have Samford and Florida State in there. They're working with the athletic departments right now full time. That's what this OTL does. It vaults them into that world of being able to parlay their experience here, that real world experience, and get themselves in line to be able to get a job.
Well, and what you're doing with the EIC and CT in general certainly is making some of those things happen. So we appreciate that. Let's talk a little hoops, Dr. Qualls.
Let's talk some hoops.
So we're going to start with the girls' side. So we're going to talk about the teams that made the championship games. We'll look at the brackets a little bit too.
I do want to ask one question before we move on. Cleveland's still the favorite right now. Is that who we got? Is that the mountain we have to climb?
Oh, in wrestling?
Yes.
Cleveland, Bradley.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they are. Right. So, but I think Summit's got a shot. Brentwood's taking a bunch. Fairview obviously will have a shot. Page, they're taking a lot too. So we'll have some opportunities.
Okay, sorry.
For sure. Let's talk girls basketball first. 11-4A, Brentwood at Hillsboro. Now, we did a pretty good job of picking these brackets. We were a little off on this Ravenwood. You got to give Ravenwood credit. They make it all the way in 12-4A to the third place game. We had picked Summit, and I'm talking 12-4A now. But in 11-4A, we were pretty much right on it. Brentwood, Hillsboro, although I believe you might have gotten emotional and switched your pick at the end, thinking Brentwood was going to come through. We both were kind of hoping and thinking that might happen. But for a third time, Hillsboro beats Brentwood 40-33. Brentwood jumps out early 11-8 in that game, but they were outscored by 6 in the second quarter, 8 in the third quarter. All of a sudden, they're down 11. And listen, when you only score 40 points and get the win, if you're down 11 going the fourth quarter, that's like being down 20.
First 1 to 40, 15 or less turnovers, you're going to have a chance to win 99.9% of the time. Now, let's talk about this. Hillsboro in Brentwood, that's the third time they've lost to Hillsboro.
Third time.
Region tournament's coming up. What is the chances that Hillsboro is going to run through their side of the bracket?
Very good chance.
What's the chances that Brentwood gets there again?
Very good chance.
Beat them when it matters. Send them to the house right there. Well, that could be for the championships. That'd be put them on the road for sectionals. I'm telling you, this is matching up. You've always disagreed with me. It's hard to beat the team 3 times in a year, whatever. But it seems like these games have been extremely close. Brentwood's encouraged by this, even if there's a good loss. But you're sitting there right there knowing that you can win this game.
I'm glad you mentioned that you don't agree with that, because I'm going to give you about 4 different times here. I'm going to say somebody won for the third time. That's the first one, which we're not proud of. But that's okay. Well, let's progress. Now let's talk about, and then Franklin beats Overton in the third place game. So I'll tell you this:
that's a good win for Franklin, by the way.
Coach Hahn and Franklin.
It's a good win. Peaking at the right time.
There's no
took your lumps early, learn from it.
No doubt about it. They played Brentwood fairly close in that semifinal.
2 wins away from what? Sectionals. Think about that for a second.
That's when it's fun.
That's right.
12-4A, Nolensville. Now, here was a time Columbia had lost to Nolensville twice during the season. Game 3, to your point, Nolensville does not win, 44-37 Columbia. But I'm going to tell you something about this game. Not that you try to lose a game, although there have been people across Middle Tennessee that have tried to lose games and they've gotten some negative PR from it. I think they end up being lucky loser. Let me tell you why. Nolensville's in the bracket with Hillsboro. Now, you might go, they match up better with them. Their matchup with Brentwood is a worse matchup, in my opinion, than matching up with Hillsboro. So I think Coach Ladd and his squad, even though they wanted to win that title, I think for their team, they're in the better bracket.
Well, yeah, and it's sometimes it's hard to sell that to people. They don't understand. You go in there, you lose this game, and you're thinking, okay, how do we bounce back? But sometimes we've had those where we go back and look at the next day, the paper back in the day, and say, oh, they lost on that side.
What's the paper?
Actually works in our favor. And I guarantee he's thinking about that. You can sell that, go out there and say, here's the blueprint to success. We're going to beat Hillsboro, and this is how we're going to do it. Let's get another shot at Columbia.
No doubt. Hey, Ravenwood.
Are you kidding me?
I know. Ravenwood, a couple weeks ago, no district wins. They get 3 or 4 or 3 late. They get 2 wins in the tournament.
It's all
End up being independent.
It's all about peaking. It's all about peaking at the right time. It really is. I mean, can you ride that wave into the region? That's usually where the rubber meets the road.
That's right.
It really is. But if you can carry that luck and that motivation and that thought process into it, you never know where you can get to. I mean, some of my best seasons have come off the absolute worst, most abysmal regular season you could ever get to, but then you have just a strike of luck in the first round of district, and you ride that wave far as you can.
And it's what they remember in basketball.
That's exactly right.
Let's move over to the boys, because we're talking championship games real quick. Fairview, 61-37 win over Cheatham. Now, we both thought it would be Fairview-Cheatham in the final. Now, get this. They had won by 6 and by 2 in the regular season. By 6 and by 2. They win by 24 points in that final. Unbelievable showing, and they beat them for the 3rd time this year.
Just what the doctor prescribed. For the doctor's Q's prescription of the week, Trey McCoy needed a...
Wait, is this a new segment?
Yes, this is a new segment, by the way. Here.
The prescription of the week.
Just what Trey McCoy needed. Coach McCoy, you know it, I know it. There were some times where I felt like, we talked about it last week, Those guys have done such a great job all year. You start to lose a little bit of interest. Let's get to that tournament. Everybody's thinking, oh, well, we've got their number, and then they get, 25 spot thrown on them. All right, so this is exactly what they needed. I hope that this catapults them into that region tournament, and they run this thing and they get to the glass house. It's a great chance for them to do it. I think they can do it. I hope they do it. Yellow Jacket pride.
Well, this brings me to something that I know you were excited to be a part of last week. This week's joins Jim.
I'm a little stronger this week. I can hold that thing. Please do it before my hands get weak.
5 district championships in a 6-year span for Fairview's boys. That's strong, man.
That really is. That's an interesting nugget. Yeah, you go back
No, back up. It's a gym.
It is a gym, pardon me. And I think it goes back to the Darius James day where they played Stratford in the sectional and unfortunately lost in double overtime down there. I think that goes all the way back to there. That's an impressive streak. It really
strong.
Is. That's really good.
Well, and we said this before, and I know I always say this about him, but I think it's worth saying. He and Coach Derrick, they carry the banner. You always talk about that carrying of
WCS Sports Conference.
Hey, who are we playing? Who's next?
Who's next? One conference, one go.
Who's next? And listen, I don't want to get Coach Miller mad at me, but a couple years ago when Summit finished third in the duels, they had 1 duel loss the whole season. 2.
Fairview.
Yeah.
Yep.
They didn't run and hide. They wrestled.
To be the best, you got to beat the best.
That's right. Hey, I want to give a shout out. Nathan Dillingham was the tournament MVP. Mays McCoy scores his 1,000th point during the tournament. John Sawyer, Bryce Embry, Jacob Neal, all part of the all-tournament team. And what's that tell you? That's 5 different players doing something. They've got balance.
Well, they got the pieces of the puzzle, right? You immediately go to Mays McCoy. Mays McCoy had a great middle school career. He's off to a great high school career already. Still got plenty of fuel in the tank.
That's right.
He's got how many years
left?
Another year left. And it could easily be a one-man show, but it's not. That's what makes them so good. I mean, when you've got 5 players doing that right there, sprinkle in a couple of 6th, 7th men, it's tough to beat.
This year they break through.
Glass house?
I think so.
Or bust? You think so?
I think so.
You've heard it here first, folks. No pressure, Coach McCoy. Daryl Jones, the energy manager, has put you in the glass house this year. I hope so, because we'll be sitting together. We'll be cheering you on.
No doubt about that. We'll have some black and gold on that day.
Guaranteed.
11-4A. Centennial, for the 3rd time this year, loses to Hillsboro. Now, Centennial jumped out to a 16-8 lead after 20-14 at the half. And the way points are so hard to come by, you feel like that might be enough. But Hillsboro playing on their home court. They've got a really good team. They outscore Centennial 18-8 in the 3rd quarter, totally flipped the script. Here's something I thought was interesting. 41 fouls called in the game. 41.
Boy, I bet.
And I'm not blaming. I'm just saying, who would want to watch that?
Did they demand a refund at the end of the game? Everybody's getting tired of that. Hey, let's talk about for a second.
But wait, what's your experience been on fouling, though? Usually in the tournament,
it's pretty much let's get it and go and fast-paced and
let them play.
Let them bang.
41.
Getting ready. We had, obviously part of that crew, I'm certain, was everybody paid to see me tonight, so watch this. How many technicals were given? Hey, how many shirt tails had to be tucked in? Hey, let's get the seats off the floor, please. I mean, come on, guys, come on.
Your wristband.
Don't even get me started on this because I'll go in a dark hole in a dark place I don't need to. But let me put something on for you. Let's talk about the job that Jeremy Moore has done at Centennial. Are you kidding me? It goes under the radar.
That's right.
I know y'all talk about it some. Doesn't even catch my attention, but let's look at the job he has done. You watch him go out. It's not the most athletic team. It's not. I mean, all of our teams kind of look similar. You can shake them up in a bag, but really look at the job that he has done
a great job
at Centennial High School.
Dominic Reed, 15 points. And here's the other thing, maybe more than any other school. I mean, you got a guy like Cochran, obviously, at Brentwood. You got McCoy at Fairview. But it's real obvious. You got Reed and Tanner Lee, probably their best 2 players. Big-time football players, too, which I love. Jeremy loves it. Matt Kreisky loves it. Appreciate those coaches being so bought in on guys playing more than one sport.
It's fantastic. Centennial's known for that, right?
I think so, yeah.
Play both sports, basketball and football? But it's
well, recently.
Yeah, but Coach Kreisky's always been a proponent of that. Let me just say that. He's always been a proponent of that. He has.
You getting ready to go down another dark hole here?
I'm not even going to talk about that, but I'm just saying, we talk about the Cochrans, you talk about bringing the havoc, we talk about all these, Jeremy Moore and the Cougs just keep sliding along. Next thing you know, you look up, here they are on the championship.
Well, I'm looking forward to just looking at this region bracket here in a minute and seeing what you think.
Okay.
All right, Franklin defeats Brentwood for third place in that league. That brings us to 12-4A. Independence, 66-57 winners over Ravenwood for the third time this year.
Okay, you've proven your point.
Third time.
That fourth, I'm just going to say the fourth time is going to be tough. That region tournament.
I can give you a couple of examples in one year.
I'm sure you can. Go Bucks.
Yeah. No.
This is not out of what we thought. We thought this is going to happen, right?
We picked this one, I think, dead on.
So let's buy or sell right now. Buy or sell. Independence right now. Are we selling or are we riding the wave and we're buying all we can get?
I'm buying.
You feel like they kind of got a little bit bored as well and now they're back on the boat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good. That's a good thing. I think that.
Plus, I like their bracket.
Okay. So you think the matchup will?
Yes.
Okay.
I think because you wanted to me, and I think a lot of teams would say this, you want to be away from Hillsboro because Hillsboro's rolling and they're playing at home.
So
region tournament.
So with Hillsboro's team, I haven't seen him play this year. Coach Thweet
does a great job.
High-low guy. Plays a little bit more under control than
he does.
Would think. So does that match up well with Ravenwood?
Well, they may get a chance to find out.
I'm just saying.
They may get a chance to find out. Independence, so again, 66-57. Raven, here's what was interesting. So Coach Whitlock has played the slow ball game. The first two games, they lose by like one or two, real close games. I think it was one game and two the other. They come out firing in this one, and they get an 18-12 lead. So it's like, whoa, what are they doing here? They're stroking threes left and right, but as the game progressed, maybe a little bit more of Indy's game, Indy takes that lead. And here's what was impressive to me. Tylen Lewis, number one, is playing great, scored 20. Jet Montgomery, 17 points, but more importantly, Josh Owens, 17 points. He hit 5 of the team's 9 threes. They left him open. He stroked it. He never hesitated and went, oh, am I supposed to shoot? I give Coach Wilkins credit. Let it fly, Josh.
First name that comes to mind that fits your team at Franklin. We're not going to let who beat us and who beat us. And the emergence of a third person out of nowhere that's not on the scouting report strokes 5 threes. This is huge for that young man's confidence.
That's right.
It's huge for the team to show we've got people outside of that. I know they know that.
You think it's Jordan Bruce S?
It's what I was getting to. I was waiting for you. It took you a minute to figure out who I was talking about.
No, I didn't know what you were talking about.
Hit 7 threes from the same board in the same game in the tournament. Now, you're talking about the same thing. This guy steps up, hits 5 threes. He wasn't even on a scouting report.
He stroked it.
He came off the bench. We're going to take away the 2 biggest threats, which are
Lewis, Montgomery.
And guess who emerges? This is huge for this team. If this team can continue doing that, it's going to be tough.
I think so, too. Here's something I'd say about Ravenwood, too, that was exciting for them. Rocco Lamuno, 21 points, a junior.
Rocco's good.
Reese Hunsinger, he scores 16, a sophomore. Both of them hit 4 threes. I'm telling you, Hunsinger, Kemple, Gaynor. I know the season's not over for Ravenwood yet, but look out a year from now.
I'm just curious, he likes to control. We're going to run 100 sets. He's got Coach Whitlock is one of the best at that.
He is.
So the question is, after he saw just a little glimmer of, okay, all right, we're going to run a little bit, now it can throw wrinkles and things. Just curious about how this is going to translate into the region tournament.
That matchup with Franklin, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is going to be interesting. Let's talk about a couple other teams. Fairview girls, we talked about, they made it to the region tournament. Just like we predicted, they won that first game. They lost the next 2, but they made it to the region tournament. The Page girls, I think we were both a little bit surprised. They make the semis. They lose a couple of really, really close games in the tournament, but again, they're making it to the region tournament. And as of this show, the Page boys are in the final against Lawrence County. At Lawrence County, they beat them by 3 and 8. And my prediction is next week I'm going to be saying Page beat Lawrence for the 3rd time.
8 AAA Coach of the Year, Coach Street.
Doing a great job.
The Patriots rolling into the region tournament. Love it. Coach Street, keep it going. Now let's talk about the girls' side. We've talked about this 100 times. I'm a good old country boy from the rural sectors of Tennessee. That team, those teams they have to beat, Lincoln County, Tullahoma, Lawrence County. Just telling y'all right now, if you've never seen the old school AA, this is AA. If you haven't seen the old school AA rural girls basketball, you hadn't seen girls basketball. That's where I'm just telling you, year in and year out, those AA girls team can just about beat any 3A, 4A. How many classifications we got? 7A now? What do we got now?
Too many.
It's tough, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, get this. Guess who they're probably going to play in the first round of the region?
Who's that?
Tell him what he's won, Johnny. Upperman.
Yeah. Okay, so Upperman's in the Glass House annually. And that's just going to show you, too, in that, I mean, that's Livingston Academy in this as well.
It's tough.
Livingston, Upperman.
Macon, you start
County.
going down.
I mean, you're talking, those rural sectors, this is where they hang their hats on. They don't have all the opportunities that we have here. A lot of the times they don't put a ton in volleyball. They don't put a ton in, it's either softball,
That's right.
basketball, and most of those issues they cross over, right? They play those two sports.
In a lot of those schools, the most popular sport in the school is girls basketball.
Girls basketball. Unfortunately, I got to play behind the nationally ranked team of Barry Wortman's, and everybody was leaving as we were warming up. I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I know what you're talking about.
And I know you, even as a young man, were going, where are you going?
This is what is going on? Where are you going? I mean, this place would be packed, but when you get a chance to see that state championship team behind Becky Myatt,
Skates,
Talisha Skates, Emily Vin, I mean, that team was loaded.
Yeah, good team.
And that's what the hang has. Listen, first off, in the rural sector, wins come few and far between. And when you can latch on to it, doesn't matter if it's girls, boys, what sport it is, they're going to latch on to it.
Let's talk about this because this is the only bracket that's totally set. So we've got the girls and boys region bracket in 4A. So let's start off with the girls. This is taking place at Hillsborough. Let's just go right through the bracket. Game 1, Hillsborough hosting Independence.
That does not bode well for Tony Hill and the squad. And no, I'm an Indy homer, and I hope they win it. But Hillsborough's been super strong all year. I don't know that they miss a beat on this one.
I think it's closer than they think, but it's Hillsborough. It's just too tough a task. But again, I think that the growth of that program, it's okay.
Mr. Producer, just know on record I would never choose against the WCS team in that seat. Next.
But when the show's over, he'd go, okay.
Next.
Nolensville Franklin.
I believe Coach Ladd Nolan is going to advance there. Even though Franklin, we did buy and sell a while ago, and they're peaking at the right time, I'm afraid that they're going to run into a buzzsaw. Nolensville's a little bit better.
I agree, Nolo. Columbia, Overton in the Who Cares games. Columbia.
For the first rest in peace today, Overton girls team. Get your popcorn out and your corn pops, because this one, corn pipe, pardon me. This one is over. Popcorn City.
It is.
Boat race.
I agree. Brentwood, Ravenwood,
That's
a region
too tough to call.
tournament battle of the woods.
I don't know that I can call this. Honestly, I'm going to defer to you on this one. This is
Brentwood.
really tough. You think so?
But I think it's close. I'd be nervous. If I'm Brentwood, I'd be nervous playing this kind of rival in the first game because honestly, anything but a win for Brentwood's a huge disappointment. Ravenwood, on the other hand, I think it's, hey, we're peaking. Let's go out there loose and let's play. It's tough, but I think Brentwood. So now we're getting down to, let's just assume this is the semis. Who comes out of Nolensville, Hillsborough, Brentwood, Columbia?
Man, I sure hope Coach Ladd and those girls. I'm gonna pick them because I can't stand it. I want them to. I know what you're saying. Your head is telling you you're picking with your heart. I hope Coach Ladd use this as motivation, my friend. He's picking against you. I'm picking for you. Lady Knights in the upset.
I'm going Nolo, Brentwood in the final. Brentwood to win it.
You going to all WCS final?
Yep, I am.
You really think Brentwood beats Columbia?
Yes, and I'm going to tell you this too. So let's just say that Nolo doesn't beat. I'm saying they're going to. I think Brentwood's winning the tournament regardless. I just think it's their time.
Disagree.
It was because of their youth?
They
got a lot of youth.
I like the Lady Knights right now, man.
Well, one thing that happened to Brentwood in that final that I failed to mention earlier, Brentwood only had 4 young ladies score. 4. 2 in double figures, Jarrett and Ryan, and 2 with 2 points. That's not a recipe for winning in the tournament, having 4 people score and 2 of them getting 2 points. All right, let's look at the boys bracket. So, same location, region bracket, Hillsborough Summit.
Hillsborough, you got to.
Hillsborough, just too tough.
It's just too tough.
Too tough. Summit's been through a lot this year. They've had big wins when you surprise.
They have. That's what I'm saying. Maybe he uses this
know.
as motivation. He's going to put our ridiculous faces up on and they're going to say, I told you so. I hope so. Hope that's the case.
Coach Fay's not watching.
Okay.
Ravenwood Franklin. That's a tough one. Now, I'll say this. Ravenwood has had Franklin's.
An unbelievable matchup on the first round.
I think Ravenwood's won like 5 or 6 times in a row.
Upset alert right now. Coach Whitlock, get your game plan together. Are you going to hold it and play control ball, or are you going to run and gun? This is going to be a tough matchup. I'm going to go to you first, defer to you.
Well, because we've obviously had a little flack from the Ravenwood people.
No, it's not about that. I haven't seen neither one of them play enough this year to make a good, educated guess. I'm going to, but I want you to go first.
I think they're both tough. Listen, they've not been on their side anyway.
I've got it. I've already picked it. Go ahead.
I'm going Franklin.
I'm going Ravenwood because P. Whitty is one of the best postseason coaches there is. He's my guy.
It'll be a good game. I'm going Franklin. You're going Ravenwood. It's a toss-up. Let's face it, toss-up. Independence versus Brentwood. I think Coach Bond's got his team trending in the right direction. I think Indy's got too much.
Better put them on upset alert, too. This is not a gimme game in any respect. This is something that Indy can't sleep on. All cylinders need to be clicking. He's going to bring the havoc. Look.
Havoc brought.
The havoc's going to be brought, but it's not going to be enough.
I agree. Now, how about this one? Centennial Nolensville. Again, Nolensville makes the region. I get the sense with their team, they hadn't been, at least in the 4A spot, maybe they haven't been quite as confident being at that level.
It's too big.
They made the region. I think they're a year away.
Too big. Yeah, I think CU's been sliding. I hope they stay under that radar and keep winning that thing. I'm just telling you right now, you look at this second round matchup potentially between Indy and Centennial.
Well, let's do this.
Okay.
So, top of the bracket, Hillsboro Franklin's what I'm saying. You're saying Hillsboro versus Ravenwood. Who do you have in that game?
Battle of the Ravenwood coaches.
That's right.
The first ever Ravenwood coach of Rodney Thweet.
And then the longest tenured in the district.
I haven't seen Hillsboro play, obviously, and I'm just completely guessing at this point. I hope Ravenwood does win, but I'm going to have to go with overall records and look at on the paper. On paper, they look better. So I'd have to go with Hillsboro on that, as much as I don't want to, but P. Whitty used that as motivation. Indy Centennial, man.
Well, I'm going to agree with you. Whether it's Franklin or Ravenwood, I think Hillsboro's too much. Playing at home.
Okay.
Playing at home, I just think it's too much. So I'm going Hillsboro. And
as we know, this is one of the toughest games there is to win. Because you know what's at stake.
I love the region.
You win this game.
I love the region.
You play for another day. Right? I love this game too. It's one of my favorite games is that semifinal round.
Game of the tournament, I think. Boys and girls both. Indy, or Centennial boys.
I'm going to make this prediction. This is a dumb prediction because obviously if they lose, they're going home. If Indy wins this game, Indy gets in the sectional, they're hosting the sectional, and they're getting to the glass house, period, if they win this game.
I totally agree. And that's what I'm predicting happens.
Yep.
I think Indy wins, and they win again. But I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if it's Centennial.
I'd hate for it to be Heartbreak City for my Eagles, man, because they are my Eagles, being a part of that group. But I'm just telling you, if they can get over the hump in this game, this is a huge, crucial game. This is going to test every bit of willpower you have as a team. Right here, you get past this game. It takes all the stress off. Now you're going to play for either at home or on the road. And then your chance at Glory to the Glass House.
I'm going to say this. Whichever WCS team wins that game is going to beat Hillsboro. We're going to win the region championship.
I just know you didn't fulfill your promise today. You're over 2 minutes, but that's okay. I appreciate you having me here today. I love this show.
Well, you've been a big part of it.
Well, I appreciate you.
And you'll be back. Maybe we need to do the 3-man panel here soon. I know you're kind of busy, but.
I'm up for anything, you know that, guys. But, these people may be like, cut it off. Cut it off.
With that, we appreciate you being with us today, and we'll see you next time on Sports Connection.